The next chapter is integrity constraints. I'll not go into much detail, just take you with an overview. So integrity constraint, authorization, DCL command, embedded SQL, dynamic SQL. So sometimes class type can really represent a collection of individual components. Although this pattern can be modeled by ordinary association, its meaning become more clear if you use notation aggregation. Database object map capability between Java objects and relational database in a standard, a highly extensible way, so that the object themselves can be used in your application, removing need to embed SQL code directly into Java application. So integrity constraint. Integrity ensure that changes by made authorized do not result in loss of data or cause any damage. Besides cell names, line cell types, the other parameters are passed DB at a creation time. These data constraint will be connected to cell DB as well. Whenever user attempt to load a cell with data, DB check data being loaded against the data constraint defined. If the data being loaded fails anytime, then this constraint checks get fired and DB will not load data, reject the entered record and flash an error to the user. Column level constraint and total level constraint. The constraints are defined along with the column definition. It is called column level constraint. When they are defined with the data, it's called data. So null value concept. While creating table, if a row lacks a value, it is said to be have a null value. Principles of a null value. Setting null value is appropriate when actual data is unknown or value is not meaningful or null is not equivalent to 0. Null will evaluate null in expression. Null multiplied by 10 is null. When column definition is defined not into null, that become mandatory. So primary key concept. Primary key is one more column in a table used to identify each row. Primary key must not be null and it must be unique across column. Multi-column primary key is a composite primary key. The only function that a primary key performs to uniquely identify rows and thus got primary key as a table constraint. Unique key concept. Unique key is similar to primary key except the purpose of unique key to ensure that information in the column for record is unique. A unique key as a column constraint. Default value concept. At the time of cell creation, default value can be assigned. When the user is loading a record with values and leaves this cell empty, DBA will automatically load cell with the default value specified. The data type of default value should match the data type of the column. You can use the default clause to specify any default value. So foreign key concept. Foreign key represent relationship between tables. A foreign key is a column or a group of column whose value are derived from primary key or the same other table. The existence of foreign key implies that table with foreign key is related to the primary table from which foreign key is derived. The foreign key must have corresponding primary key in primary key to have a meaningful data. Foreign key references, rejects and insert update of a value if it corresponds. And foreign key checking integrity constraints. Use check where you need to enforce integrity rules that can be evaluated based on logical expression. Never use check constraint. Constraints can be defined using not null primary or the foreign key constraint. Then we have authorization. After installing PL/SQL, developer will use PL within the limits of the system privileges. If Oracle does not use creator user privileges, PL/SQL can start new user PL developer but eventually get OR3 sufficient privileges SMS from Oracle. Then we have the DCL command, which is data control language, a subgroup of that controls access to data. The subcategory of SQL command is particular interest to administrator managing data groups. So this control whether you can have access your privileges and things like that. You have grant and revoke here. Grant is used to give privilege access for data. Grant DBA to username. Revoke is to get his grants back. Then you have embedded SQL. SQL defines embedding in a variety of programs such as PL/SQL. The language is embedded, referred to as host language. Program written in host language can use embedded SQL signals to access data stored in database. This embedded extend the programmer ability to manipulate data even further. In embedded SQL, all queries are performed by database system. A result of queries then made available to program one tuple at a time. The embedded SQL must be processed by special processor prior to compilation. Declaring variable and exception. I think we can skip this one. Dynamic SQL. Dynamic SQL component of SQL 92 allows a program to construct some SQLs at runtime. In contrast, embedded SQL must be completely present at compile and they are complied by the embedded SQL preprocessor. The dynamic SQL process can create SQL queries at string run at a time and can either have them execute immediately or have them prepared for subsequent use. Preparing a dynamic statement compiles and subsequently use the prepared used compile version or something which is already compiled and fired at compiled version. So database allow field to be defined when they are calculated at specific value not stored in the database. The Allow referential integrity. The relationship between objects must be methods invoke master detail, define database in an independent way. They allow set of valid values to be defined or for fields and verify fields against the list of automatically. They allow serial number fields to be automatically assigned correct values and much more. Then you have column level constraint. It's constraint defined along the column definition. Foreign key represent relationship between tables. Primary key one or more columns. The table level constraint is the constraint as a specific cell or another cell when the user will have to use the table level constraints.